Hey guys, welcome back. This is Tucker from Kite, and today we are going to start off our trick tip series of videos with the most popular question we get, which is what is the best way to learn to surf foil? So this is for prone foiling, paddling into waves, standing up, riding waves on your foil. Could also be used as a good tutorial for learning how to sup foil, only obviously you're not going to be paddling in and standing up, you'll be already standing up, paddling in with your paddle. So let's dive into it, get you guys out there in the waves as soon as possible, as safe as possible, with what we have found to be the best way to learn to do this. So guys, like with most of our videos here, if you click the eye icon up in the upper right hand corner, it's going to give you a lot more information, kind of a written blog style, a breakdown of what we're talking about right now, printable steps so you can reference back to those, as well as links to some of the products we'll be talking about. So let's get into it. We're going to learn to surf foil. What's the first step? Well, it may seem obvious. The first step is learning to surf, or sup if you're going to be learning to sup foil. If you can't surf in the waves, you're not going to be able to surf foil because it builds upon the skills that you learn in surfing, and it's just a little bit harder. You got to be able to ride a shorter board. So if you don't already know how to surf, you can't surf a fish or shortboard, get out there, learn to surf, start with a big longboard, small waves, master that, then move to smaller boards. When you get down into smaller mal style boards or fishes or even shortboards, then you're really ready, you've built the skills. If you've conquered that, where you can move into surf foiling. You don't need to be a pro surfer by any means, but you should be past that beginning stage where you can paddle into waves and stand up confidently. So after you learn to surf, step number 2 would be getting the correct equipment. Now this isn't really like a step per se, more like a suggestion. So you want to be riding a board for surf foiling similar to your fish style board in terms of length, maybe a little wider, a little thicker. For guys of average size, that's going to be between, let's say 5'2" and a little over 6 feet in terms of length. You want to favor something in the 20 to 22 inch wide, just really bulky, big, floaty boards. Ideally, a board that's been shaped or designed specifically for foil boarding. They tend to paddle a little faster, have a little bit more volume, and be extra reinforced to handle the extra stress on the board from the foil. Being up there on that pedestal, getting cranked down all the time. So if you've got the right board, talk to us if you need any recommendations. You want to move on to the correct foil. So what we recommend is something in the large range for your size, something that's going to allow you to ride kind of those knee to waist high, maybe even chest high waves. So for most people, that's going to be a large surf foil. And if you have any questions about which one might be right for you, please reach out to us. There's a lot of factors there: weight, wave style, where you're riding. The last piece of equipment you're going to need in your surf foil board or sup foil board is a leash. Foils, you really don't want to just let them go. They will coast down their own for a while. You want to rein that in, keep the board close to you, keep people downwave of you safe. So our third step is to take a swim with your foil. Now this might seem silly or like unnecessary, but it'll help you get over some of those kind of beginner foiler mistakes that could maybe end your session or cause you some frustration. So what we'd recommend, just go out when it's flat or really small, swim around with your board, handle your board, figure out how you're going to paddle out with it, how you're going to make it through the shore break if it's too shallow to put your foil down. Maybe even practice some duck dives and stuff to see how your board handles. Sit on your board, find the sweet spot, just get familiar with it, before you head out into the waves where a mistake can maybe cause your foil to run into you or something like that. Our next step here is to get behind a boat. Now this doesn't have to be a professional wakeboarding or wake surfing boat. Anything that will pull up a skier or a wakeboarder should be just fine. There's a lot of surface area on most of these boards, and the surface area of the wing just adds to that lift. So I've seen people foil behind boats as small as like a 12-foot fishing boat, something like a center console, a ski boat, or a jet ski. But the idea here is to get behind the boat where all those variables are removed and really focus on how to ride the foil, get familiar with your foil and how it should ride, learn those turns, how it reacts to your weight, and really just learn to foil, period, because at the end of the day, it's unlike any other board sport that you've done thus far. So some of the details that'll help you behind the boat: The longer the rope, the better. I mean, if you can get out there 70 or 100 feet, that's a great place to be, because any of the wash coming from the boat or any of the aeration in the water from the prop or anything like that, it's just going to cause a lot of extra turbulence over your wing, so it's not going to fly as smoothly like it should. So if you can get way back there behind the boat where it's very smooth water, or cut to the side of the wake a bit where it's real smooth water without a whole lot of current and turbulence going on, it's going to allow you to learn in a much more friendly environment. So after you learn to board start behind the boat, your first major goal is going to be controlled takeoffs. So that's moving from the board on the water surface to allowing yourself to fly above the water using the lift of the wings. Key for these is shifting your hips smoothly. You start with a lot of weight on your front foot when you take off to gain control. Keep that board on the surface of the water, and you'll slowly shift your weight back until the board starts to lift, and then you want to shift your weight back forward again in order to level that board off. So you're going to shift it back, it's going to start to rise, and then we're going to shift back and level that board back off to remain stable in flight. Your first few times out, try to come up and down just a few inches, come back down, come up a few inches, come down, so you're not coming too high up and crashing down. You get comfortable riding, making some really long rides. Maybe we're getting out there for 60 or 80 or even 100 feet. You can ride comfortably and do it time after time. Sounds like your time to progress to the next obstacle, which is kind of learning to pump. So pumping in surf foiling is going to allow you to extend your ride. It's going to allow you to connect different waves, and really it's the first skill required to really make long rides, especially if you're in shifty kind of waves or inconsistent waves that aren't providing a consistent source of power for your foil. The idea there, you just want to get comfortable, stable flying. You're going to drop the rope and you'll start to feel it. So you can feel the glide for a long while. You can just kind of glide it out without doing anything, just holding a stable position. And that's really what you want to do to hold your momentum when you're first pumping. You want to just ride out that momentum and glide about as far as you can. Once you've sort of reached the point where you need to begin pumping or end up hitting the water, you want to suck your legs up and glide out. Suck your legs up and glide out. And allow the foil to lift up, and then equal pressure down, or level pressure depending on where your stance is over the foil. And that's going to allow you to sort of reset the mast and continue your momentum forward. And generally you can do that for 2 to 4 kind of pumps while you're keeping your momentum. After that period, you need to start to generate your own thrust. At some point, you got to continue to give yourself more momentum rather than just resetting the mast and kind of just eking out what you already have. So at that point, it becomes less of a lift and glide and more of a pump, 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 pump in a rhythmic way to give a little bit of thrust from the tail wing and reset the mast a little bit higher. So go suck, glide, glide, suck them up, glide, and then it will start to have to pump, 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 pump. And that's really where you're going to get those long rides where you can connect waves and generate a lot of your own power while you're foiling. I don't think you're going to master that the first time out. It takes a ton of practice, and the guys that are connecting multiple waves or going back out to the lineup have hours upon hours upon hours of practice. So don't get down on yourself if you can't go more than 20 or 30 feet. Just keep working on those skills and know that the better you get at that, the further you're going to be able to eke your waves out and the more waves you'll be able to connect in sequence. So our next skill that you'll want to build, if you can, is to ride the wake without the rope. Practicing that will really help you build skills for surf foiling, and that way when you do stand up your first time out in the waves, it's going to be a lot more familiar than if you hadn't tried that. So if you can, get in the first wake or second wake back, drop that rope, work on riding the wave, practicing pumping in that section where you've got a little extra power from the wave, and you'll get really familiar really fast with how to surf foil and how to do that once you stand up on a wave. Another great way to get out there and learn to foil or practice foiling if you don't have a boat is kiteboarding. So if you're already a kiteboarder, practicing behind the boat's still a really great way to start before you get to kiteboarding, but getting out and kiteboarding with your surf foil is phenomenal for getting used to your foil and building those skills. You're just on your foil all the time. You can actually ride waves and really carve around and feel out the speed range and how that foil works. All right, so we're almost ready. You're almost there. You're gonna go out for your first session in the waves. The big thing you wanna do is pick a great spot for foiling. Now, what makes a good spot for surf foiling is generally a spot that's deep enough for your foil to ride without hitting the bottom, an uncrowded spot, and a spot with some really mellow waves. So even if they're chest high or bigger than that, they're really slow moving and slopey without pitching and barreling. That's gonna be a great spot to go. Waist to chest high, I'd say, is kind of ideal for most people, especially if you're not really familiar with riding larger waves. It'll get you out there, make it more mellow, easy to ride, and once you get up on foil, trust me, you're gonna be moving faster than you ever have on a wave that size anyway, so it's still gonna be a ton of fun. Still gonna be plenty extreme for you that first time out. So the first time you get out, if you do have an adjustable foil mounting position on your board, we'd recommend that you put the foil further back in the box. This is going to allow you to paddle into waves without accidentally coming up on foil. It'll really make that intention to come up on foil when you're ready a more purposeful choice rather than coming up on accident or by surprise. No one wants to be surprised by their foil coming up onto lift and flying. It's just a scary moment. You want to do it intentionally where you're ready for it and ready to go and at the right moment. So putting that foil further back in the box, closer to the tail of the board, will really allow you to get out there and do that. You can always move it further forward, of course, so bring a screwdriver or an Allen wrench or whatever you need with you so you can move it forward, but starting in the back end of the box is going to allow for a more purposeful choice to come up on foil and really help you find that sweet spot once you do get on the waves. So you found your foil spot, you've learned to foil behind the boat, you're ready to go, you're amped, you've been waiting. Paddle out there your first session when it's the right size and it's mellow, there's not too many people around, and you've got plenty of room between your foil and the ocean floor. Some things you're gonna wanna do, basically go sit, find a wave that you like, start to paddle in as you would on your normal shortboard or fish style of board, and you wanna stand up, first gain control on your board and be stable, and then shift your weight just like you did behind the boat or behind your kiteboard kite. Shift it back forward and get ready to ride. So for the liftoff, you're gonna do it just like you practice behind the boat. Knees bent, really central over the board, shifting our weight backwards via the hips. As it starts to fly, we're going to level out by leaning back forward. And remember, you're removing the surface tension of that board and you're on a wave now, so you're going to accelerate. You may need to lean forward even a little bit more. For most foils, you got about 60% of your weight on your front foot. So as you progress down the line, I'd recommend just taking a straight line along with the wave perpendicular to the shore, ride it out, feel it out. At the end, if you want to pump it up or try to connect a wave, go for that. But this is probably going to take you some time to get used to. Not many people get up on foil successfully the first time they paddle into a wave. Just like when you were surfing the first time, it's going to take some practice. So get out there, keep paddling into waves, work on, shifting your weight and how that foil feels when you get on the wave. An important thing when you're learning to surf foil is also learning to fall. Just like with any kind of foiling, you want to commit to any potential fall, not try to fix your mistake, at least not to an overt extent, because you're just going to make a bad situation worse. You're trying to overcorrect, it's like a bad car wreck. You're going to end up falling back onto your board or your foil. You want to fall along with the foil so that you're gaining distance away from the board as you fall, and that's really going to give you, plenty of sessions where you're not hurting yourself, falling back on the foil. So get out there, practice. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to answer them for you. Until next time, this has been Tucker with Matt Kite, and we'll see you in about 2 weeks for our next trick tip, so look out for that. As always with our videos, be sure to give us a thumbs up or hit that bell icon if you want to be notified when we drop new videos. And as always, we appreciate it when you subscribe to our videos. That lets us know that you've been watching and that we can know to continue to produce great videos for you. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them in the comments section below. We'll do our best to answer you in a timely way.